quote the first time.
Yeah.
That's sort of an interesting construction. Normally when you write an indictment, and I wrote lots of them, if something happens for the first time, you just name the date on which it happens. On a particular date, Katie, you and I cased the bank. On a particular date, Katie, you and I bought a getaway car. We don't say for the first time unless there's something unusual about that. And so when the president speaks in Doral, Florida, in the afternoon, and then after hours, perhaps in Moscow, Russian military intelligence, for the first time, attempts to spearfish the campaign service employees' emails. That's notable. That, I don't think, the C word is a coincidence.
Let's bring in Betsy Woodruff from the Daily Beast. The other piece of news that we've been juggling today, where again we're still waiting on the president to talk, was the indictment of another Russian. And you've written about this in the Daily Beast. You say it could be the only evidence, or at least the first evidence we get of collusion. Talk to me about why.
What this indictment or this new complaint against Russian Maria Butina shows is that this woman, who's currently incarcerated, waiting for hearings to move forward, was part of, according to the allegations, part of a Russian influence operation trying to make some sort of back channel between the Republican Party and the NRA to the Kremlin. They were trying to connect these different entities as part of an overall Russian project of shoring up relations between the Kremlin and the conservative movement and the Republican Party. Maria Butina spent years in the United States, according to the complaint, working on that project. And what the criminal complaint also shows is that she had help from at least one American. The complaint doesn't name the U.S. citizen, but the Washington Post has identified this person as Paul Erickson, who was a longtime Republican operative and insider. And according to the complaint, this person, U.S. person number one, wrote in an email to a third-party individual that he was part of setting up secret communications, communications between a major Republican party. The complaint doesn't name the party, but we can assume it's the Republican Party, between a major gun rights organization, again, we can assume it's the NRA, and the Kremlin. So that's a U.S. citizen knowing that he was deliberately participating in a Russian influence operation. That's pretty stunning.
Jeremy, there's so much out there right now, from the indictments from the Mueller team, from this indictment that we just learned of yesterday of Maria Butina that Betsy just laid out, from the assessment of the intelligence community, from the way that this administration and the president have lied about the contacts with Russia, or lied about the statements that they've made for Don Jr. and the campaign's meeting with a Russian lawyer. There are so many questions out there. Can you give me a good reason why, given all of the smoke that's there, and given all the talk, the President of the United States would go to meet with the Russian president on foreign soil and then trash our intelligence community, trash the Democratic Party, trash the media, and then give a bear hug to the man that his administration has accused and found to have meddled and attacked our elections and our democracy? What is the reason for that?
There are only three reasons. One is that he's a genius in foreign policy, the likes of which we have never seen. He puts Henry Kissinger to shame. He's the most amazing statesman of our time. I don't think any of us really believe that's the case. Second is that he's just totally incompetent, that he doesn't prepare, he wings it, he makes things up. He's gone on there and been totally manipulated, beaten at the game by Vladimir Putin. That's possible, and I think that may be one of the things that's happening here. But third is that there is actually some compromising information that the Russians have on him. I'm not talking about the most salacious stuff, say from the dossier. I'm talking about a long history of financial ties that between the Trump organization and the Russian Federation. And for my money, what I believe, just having looked at this for a long time now, is that I believe it's actually the financial ties that have motivated Donald Trump.
Again,
because Donald Trump was really on the margins of kind of the Wall Street establishment. He couldn't always raise capital for his projects, and he had to go elsewhere to get money. Russians also needed a requirement, which was to take money out of the Russian Federation after the collapse of the Berlin Wall and after the collapse of the Soviet Empire, and they wanted basically to launder their money outside. And their ill-gotten gains needed a place to go, and so the two kind of found each other. We know that. We've seen evidence that there were financial ties, and those long-standing financial ties, I think, really have brought Trump into the Russian camp now. I think he is doing the work of the KGB. That's not to say he's working for the KGB or their successor organizations, but he is in effect doing their bidding and doing their work now. And that's what's so horrifying, that's what's so troubling, and his effort to clean this up by saying I didn't say the word not and I meant to. I mean, come on, I don't think anybody really believes that. The phrase he used in the press conference yesterday that I think will live in infamy is confidence in both sides. He has as much confidence in the Russian intelligence services and the Russian Federation as he has in the United States of America.
Both sides are to blame. It's got a thing for that both sides phrase. Another thing, Jeremy, to you again, that the president said, according to the notes that are coming out, and he repeated this yesterday, repeated it again today, President Obama, along with Brennan and Clapper, they knew about Russia's attempt and they totally buried it because they thought Clinton would win.
You know what? I actually think that's right. I actually think that the Obama administration had preliminary information about the Russian attack, but I think the president made a call, President Obama at the time made a call, which in hindsight, of course, is incorrect, to say, let's not really try to do much about this because Hillary's going to win, and if she wins, we don't want to be seen as interfering on her behalf. So what did they do? They went to Capitol Hill, they sat down with Mitch McConnell, and they said, the only way for us to make this public and for us to kind of call them out on this is if we do this on a bipartisan basis. And Mitch McConnell refused. So in fact, I think the Republican leadership on Capitol Hill has some blame here as well. But I do think that in hindsight, of course, the previous administration could have done more. Now, importantly, Katie, what they did do was in October, Jay Johnson, the Homeland Security Secretary, and Jim Clapper, the DNI, statement fingering Russia, holding Russia accountable for the cyber attacks. And what happened basically that day? That's when the Russian Federation began to dump all of the emails that they had hacked. So this wasn't mere meddling. This was a sophisticated military cyber attacks using sophisticated cyber weapons. For the president to say in a passive voice, as he apparently has said today, that meddling occurred really underplays exactly what happened.
Well, the president also says he wants to leave things in the past and move on to the future. He said that yesterday, and today he said my administration is taking a firm stance. We're going to go take strong actions to secure the election systems. We've made significant progress. Hans, have we made significant progress? Are our election systems secured? Has the president done that?
Well, there hasn't been a coordinated concerted plan for the last 2-3 months from either the NSA or Cyber Command. We heard testimony to that effect on Capitol Hill a couple months ago. These would be the organizations that are actually erecting the cyber defenses to protect the U.S. election. There is an interesting report out this morning, though, late this morning, from the Washington Post saying that independently, the new head of Cyber Command and the NSA, it's a joint command over at the Pentagon, will be putting in directives and guidance on how to make sure the 2018 election will not be compromised, putting up cyber defenses and really preparing in a preventative type way for that. So what we've seen really, this Washington Post report and also the Dan Coates comments on Monday as well, is that the intelligence agency is working towards this. They recognize there is a threat. The intelligence, the DNI says that Russia clearly did interfere in the election. So it's really a question of how much power President Trump has to control some of those agencies, because a lot of these agencies, I don't want to say they run on autopilot, but their institutional strength really relies on all the resources and assets they have. And when those start to move around, it's very difficult for the president to pull them back. We saw that most recently in those training exercises down there in the Ukraine. U.S. Navy 6th Fleet working side by side with the Ukrainian Navy when the president is meeting with Putin, who really doesn't like the idea that the U.S. is training with Ukraine. So institutionally, the ship of state continues sort of to move forward. It's a question of how the president pulls it back. Katie?
The president is about to speak. We're getting that tape queued up right now. Notice when he does start speaking that he's reading from typed remarks. Here he is.
Thank you, everybody. Yesterday, I returned from a trip from Europe where I met with leaders from across the region to seek a more peaceful future for the United States. We're working very hard with our allies, and all over the world we're going to have peace. That's what we want. That's what we're going to have. I say peace through strength.
Treason weasel.
We have helped the NATO alliance greatly by increasing defense contributions from our NATO allies by over $44 billion. And
there are no NATO contributions, you fucking idiot.
They've never had an increase like this in their history, and NATO is actually going down as opposed to going up. I increased it by my meeting last year, $44 billion, and this year it'll be hundreds of billions of dollars over the coming years. And I think there's great unity with NATO. There's a lot of very positive things.
If you think that there's some grand NATO bank where all the NATO cash is stored, you're a fucking idiot.
They weren't paying their bills on time, and So we had a tremendous success. I also had meetings with Prime Minister May on the range of issues concerning our special relationship, and that's between the United States and ourselves. We met with the Queen, who is absolutely a terrific person.
Yeah, she hates you, dude.
Her honor guard for the first time in 70 years, they tell me. We walked in front of the honor guard, and that was very inspiring to see and be with her. And I think the relationship, I can truly say, is a good one. But she was very, very inspiring indeed. Most recently, I returned from Helsinki, Finland, and I was going to give a news conference over the next couple of days about the tremendous success, because the success NATO was. I think this was our most successful visit, and that had to do with Russia.
That was the highlight of your trip, huh, dude?
President Vladimir Putin in an attempt to tackle some of the most pressing issues facing humanity. We have never been in a worse relationship with Russia than we are as of a few days ago, and I think that's gotten substantially better. And I think it has the possibility of getting much better. I used to talk about this during the campaign. Getting along with Russia would be a good thing. Getting along with China would be a good thing. Not a bad thing, a good thing. In fact, a very good thing. We're nuclear powers, great nuclear powers. Russia and us have 90% of the nuclear weapons. So I've always thought getting along is a positive thing, and not just for that reason. I entered the meeting with the firm conviction that diplomacy and engagement is better than hostility and conflict. And I feel that with everybody. We have 29 members in NATO, as an example, and I have great relationships, or at least very good relationships, with everybody. The press covered it quite inaccurately. They said I insulted people. Well, if asking for people to pay up money that they are supposed to pay is insulting, maybe I did, but I can tell you when I left, everybody was thrilled, and that's the way this was too. My meeting with President Putin was really interesting.
This guy's such a fucking idiot. I'm sorry, if you fucking support this guy, then that doesn't say a lot about you.
Let me begin by saying that once again, full faith.
Get all your fucking tax cuts and all your other bullshit without having this fucking idiot in office, that's for sure.
In our intelligence agencies. Oops, they just turned off the light. That must be the intelligence agencies. There we go. It's okay. You guys okay? Good. That's okay. So I'll begin by stating that I have full faith and support for America's great intelligence agencies, always have. And I have felt very strongly that while Russia's actions had no impact at all on the outcome of the election, let me be totally clear in saying that, and I've said this many times, I accept our intelligence community's conclusion that Russia's meddling in the 2016 election took place. Could be other people also. There's a lot of people out there. There was no collusion at all. And people have seen that, and they've seen that strongly. This has already come out very strongly on that. A lot of people have come out strongly on that. I thought that I made myself very clear by having just reviewed the transcript. Now, I have to say, I came back and I said, what is going on? What's the big deal? So I got a transcript, I reviewed it. I actually went out and reviewed it of an answer that I gave. And I realized that there is a need for some clarification.
Oh, you're a fucking idiot, dude.
Obvious. I thought it would be obvious, but I'd like to clarify just in case it wasn't.
Dude, we watched the whole fucking news conference. It's not one little word.
Instead of wouldn't. The sentence should have been, I don't see any reason why I wouldn't, or why it wouldn't be Russian. So, just to repeat it, I said the word would instead of wouldn't. And the sentence should have been, and I thought it would be maybe a little bit unclear on the transcript or unclear on
that
the
was it.
video.
Some idiot reporter wrote your word down wrong. Sure, dude.
It wouldn't be Russian. Sort of a double
Sure
negative.
thing.
So you can put that in, and I think that probably clarifies by itself. I have on numerous occasions noted our intelligence findings that Russians attempted to interfere in our elections. Unlike previous administrations, the administration has and will continue to move aggressively to repeal any efforts and repel. We will stop it, we will repel it, any efforts to interfere in our elections. We're doing everything in our power to prevent Russian interference in 2018. And we have a lot of power. As you know, President Obama was given...
it's all Obama's fault. Oh.
Last election, 2016, and they decided not to do anything about it. The reason they decided that was pretty obvious to all. They thought Hillary Clinton...
Because you were on TV saying the fucking election's rigged, you fucking asshole.
When I won the election,
They decided not to feed you.
And all of a sudden they went into action, but it was a little bit late. So he was given that in sharp contrast to the way it should be. And President
Oh, what are you doing?
Brennan and Clapper and the whole game, you see on television,
Fucking Treacle Weasel got me.
they knew about Russia's attempt to interfere in the election in September, and they totally buried it. And
Everybody else's fault but mine.
that Hillary Clinton was going to win. Turned out it didn't happen that way. By contrast, my administration has taken a very firm stance. It's a very firm stance on a strong action. And we're going to take strong action to secure our election systems and the process. Furthermore, as has been stated, and we've stated it previously and on many occasions, no collusion.
No collusion.
We're addressing some of the worst conflicts on earth. So when I met with President
Oh no.
about 2.5 hours, we talked about numerous things. And among those things
Your fault.
you see in the
Fucking
Middle East.
fat piece of shit.
Very much involved. I entered the negotiations with President Putin from a position of tremendous strength. Our economy is booming, and our military is being funded $700 billion this year, $716 billion next year. It will be more powerful as a military than we've ever had before. President Putin and I addressed a range of issues, starting with the civil war in Syria and the need for humanitarian aid and help for people in Syria.
Why don't you just stop bombing them?
Iran and
Wouldn't that be easier to Putin just stop bombing them?
the destabilizing activities taking place in Iran. As most of you know, we ended the Iran deal, which was one of the worst deals anyone could imagine, and that's had a major impact on Iran, and it's substantially weakened Iran, and we hope that at some point Iran will call us and we'll maybe make a new deal, or we maybe won't. But Iran is not the same country that it was 5 months ago.
Go.
I can tell. They're no longer looking so much to the Mediterranean and the entire Middle East. They've got some big problems that they can solve probably much easier if they...
Now what are you going to say at the end to try and deflect from everybody?
discussed Israel and the security of Israel, and
You're going to open a new settlement in your backyard?
very much involved now with us in the discussion with Bibi Netanyahu on working something out with surrounding Syria, and Syria specifically with regards to the security and long-term security of Israel. A major topic of discussion was North Korea and the need for it to remove its nuclear weapons. Russia has assured us of its support. President Putin said he agrees with me 100%, and they'll do what I have to do to try and make it happen. Discussions are ongoing, and they're going very, very well. We have no rush for speed. The sanctions are remaining. The hostages are back. There have been no tests. There have been no rockets going up for a period of 9 months. And I think the relationships are very good. See how that goes. We have no time limit. We have no
That's
speed.
bunker.
We're just going through the process. But the relationships are very good. President Putin is going to be involved in the sense that he is with us. He would like to see that happen.
Dude, nobody believes a fucking word coming out of your mouth.
Prior to the press conference was
Go to fucking orange hell.
throughout the world. The United States and Russia have 90%, as I said, and we could have a big impact. But nuclear weapons is, I think, the greatest threat today. And they're a great nuclear power.
Nah, you're the greatest threat.
We have to do something about nuclear. And so that was a matter that we discussed actually in great detail, and President Putin agrees with me. The matters
My buddy Putin agrees with me.
Importance and have the potential to save millions of lives. I understand the many disagreements between our countries, but I also understand that dialogue is when you think about a dialogue with Russia or dialogue with other countries, but dialogue with Russia in this case, where we've had such poor relationships for so many years, dialogue is a very important thing and it's a very good thing. So if we get along with them, great. If we don't get along with them, we'll get along with them. But I think we have a very good chance of having some very positive things. I thought that the meeting that I had with President Putin was really strong. I think that they were willing to do things that, frankly, I wasn't sure whether or not they would be willing to do. And we'll be having future meetings and we'll see whether or not that comes to fruition. But we had a very, very good meeting. So I just wanted to tell I have the strongest respect for our intelligence.
No, you do not.
By my people.
Say anything the fuck you want, dude. Your actions speak louder.
Gina, Dan Codes.
Go to fucking hell, dude.
We have tremendous people, tremendous talent within the agencies. I think they're being guided properly, and we all want the same thing. We want success for our country. So with that, we're going to start a meeting now on tax reductions. We're going to be putting in a bill.
More tax reductions, yay! More money for fucking rich people.
It's about that, and then we'll get back onto a private meeting. But Kevin, could you maybe give just a brief
Because
discussion?
that's all they fucking care about.
Thank you for having members of the Ways and Means Committee.
That's why they will never fucking hold you accountable, dude. Because you will give them tax cuts.
America has a strong economy and a strong military. Under your leadership, House and Senate Republicans are delivering on both. Today is about how we can strengthen America's economy more than we think. The best place to start is with America's middle-class families and our small businesses. So today we're here to talk to you about making permanent this tax relief. One, so they can continue to grow. Two, so we can add 1.5 million new jobs. And three, we can protect them against a future Washington trying to steal back those hard-earned dollars that you and Republican Congress has given them. So thank you very much for having us here today.
And the time of submill, what would you think that would be, Kevin?
So we anticipate the House...
As soon as you let us get down on our knees and start sucking your orange cock, we can get things done.
Oh, that's great. Thank you very much, everybody.
We were just listening to President Trump. What a difference a day makes. Apparently, it was much ado about nothing. You just heard him say,
it's no big deal.
Full faith in our
Just a little light treason to start the day.
Contradiction to what we witnessed from Helsinki yesterday. Joining me now, MSNBC host Katie Turner, host of Hardball, Chris Matthews, NBC News Hans Nichols at the White House and on Capitol Hill, MSNBC's Garrett Haig. The president also said that he misspoke, Katie Turner. He said that yesterday, when he said, I see no reason why it would be Russia, he said he meant wouldn't be. I just want to play this back. Let's listen to what the president actually said yesterday that basically turned the world upside down, and then what he said about it. Listen.
All I can do is ask the question. My people came to me, Dan Coates came to me, and some others. They said they think it's Russia. I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this. I don't see any reason why it would be.
That's fine. I'm sorry, but if you listen to that and believe he misspoke and meant to say wouldn't, then you are a fucking idiot. There ain't no two ways about it. You're a fucking idiot if you believe that and think he meant to say wouldn't. In addition to the context of the rest of that meeting.
So you can put that in, and I think that probably clarifies things pretty good by itself.
Well, that sorts the whole thing out. So thanks for watching MSNBC. Our coverage continues. What did he just do?
I almost jumped the gun because it's laughable. It is ludicrous that he's trying to explain that away by saying, I just forgot to say one word. It's as if he expected us or thinks that we all were wearing blindfolds and had earplugs in for the rest of that news conference and for his interview with Sean Hannity later tonight.
That worked for anybody when they were in 5th grade?
The behavior that he's shown, and expect us to believe that that was really just a tiny misspeak that he did, that he meant to say not and said he said would. That's ludicrous. Last night on Sean Hannity, he was asked about Putin's denial, and he said, quote, Putin was extremely strong and powerful in his denial, once again siding with Vladimir Putin. Trump also said in the news conference yesterday that the U.S. has been foolish for investigating Russian collusion, and we are all to blame. And the probe is ridiculous. He called it a witch hunt.
Nobody blamed but you, dude.
A witch hunt yesterday morning. He said our relationship has never been worse now, that changed 4 hours ago, and that he can't make decisions on foreign policy to appease partisan critics.
Many people don't know this about me, but my favorite president of all time is actually Reagan.
To believe the president when he says that just now. It is ludicrous for the president to expect us to believe it. You have to wonder what's going on behind the scenes at the White House today, and how many people have gone up to the president and said,
That's who I grew up with.
Notice he was reading from typed remarks.
He wasn't always right, but he wasn't a fucking traitor.
The both sides thing, and he said there were a lot of fine people marching with the white supremacists. When he was forced to go out and make an apology and to walk it back, he read from prepared remarks. He read them.
Big difference from having differences of opinions and being a flat-out fucking asset for the Russian Empire.
True feelings, which was that he felt that both sides were to blame and that there were very fine people. Watch for what the president says in the coming hours. Watch for what the president says tomorrow. I don't think anybody can call this a clarification or in any way argue that it mitigates the disastrous
it's a strange explanation Chris Matthews as one can come up with, and it's worth noting that in the same comments the president made, he also said it could be other people also. There's a lot of people out there. So to accept that the president misspoke accepts the fact that that sentence he uttered yesterday was weirdly out of character for the way, as Katie says, the way the president's been characterizing the Mueller investigation and the relationship to Russia. It wasn't. He wasn't out of character today. To suggest that he meant to say wouldn't as opposed to would doesn't really make sense to me.
Well, everything Katie said is usually
Doesn't make sense to anybody because it's a lie. It's called lying. It's called damage control.
It's a two-step process. The first thing you do is you say something that your audience wants to hear. I made a mistake. Then, oh, he's being honest with us. And in that moment when they're buying it, you then tell them to lie again. You say, I meant to say would not. It's a two-step. And I'll tell you, the nightly news, the evening news, all the straight media tonight will cover this as an actual event. That he admitted he made a mistake. And then they will say that this mistake he admitted making was that he didn't put the word not in. This is the way you game the straight media. You accept them that it's very mechanical. You watch tonight. You will see this in the front page of the New York Times. You'll see it even in adversary media. They will all give for having admitted he made a mistake so that he could lie again. This is a technique, and I bet you he gets away with it. I'll bet you everyone tonight plays that stupid thing today that he admitted this little mistake. It's a game, it's a technique, it's called spin.
And I think we have to get adjusted to the fact that it's not a mistake, but Hans, Garrett.
No, it's a game.
Right, and Garrett, and this is going to be something that folks at Congress are going to be able to latch onto. In other words, Republicans who are not sure where they sat on this thing, who are furrowing their brows for the last 24 hours at what Donald Trump said yesterday, they get to now probably say he just misspoke.
Yeah, Alec, there's a segment of the Republican Party for whom this will be good enough. They will see this as an off-ramp and an opportunity to change the subject back to issues that they'd rather be talking about, namely literally anything else. This has really turned the Republican Party against this president in a way I've not seen happen with any other major issue up here on Capitol Hill, and those who are allied with the president will take these comments today and say, okay, he's addressed this, he's walked it back, he's made
waiting for it to blow over.
Probably turn some of this on the media, and they will say it's time to move on. But I do think there is another, potentially a larger segment of congressional Republicans at Capitol Hill who saw yesterday's news conference in Helsinki and today's back as a sign that they will have to take steps on their own to continue to support our European allies, to continue to support the Department of Justice and their ongoing investigations, and to continue to put pressure on Russia to stay out of their elections, the 2018 elections coming up in just 3 months, which are at the front of almost every lawmaker's mind up here.
Hans Nichols, the president got back after what was arguably one of the finest weeks that Vladimir Putin has ever had. And unfortunately, probably one of the worst weeks that the Pentagon has had, because the president stop after stop kicked our allies in the face and then got to Russia and continued to fundamentally undermine the NATO alliance when he continues this embrace of Vladimir Putin, who right now continues to preside over an occupation of a country that was not a Russian country a few years back.
You're referring to the Ukraine and Crimea, and just last week there are these exercises in the Black Sea, the U.S. Navy training with the Ukrainian Navy that had a large part of their fleet sunk by the Russians. It's really a show of force at the Pentagon level, the military-to-military level. These relationships are enduring and they will continue.
Come on, Spin.
All across Eastern Europe, you have U.S. training with partner forces, whether or not they're in a rotational division, a rotational battalion going in and out of Poland. You have Marines that are up training in cold weather up in Norway, the only country that actually touched, the only NATO country that actually has a physical border there from the old NATO countries. I think overall, looking at the president's defense, and I should note that Secretary Mattis has been very clear that Russia did interfere in the 2016 presidential election. He said that, I think, most recently last January. I think when you look at the president's defense, his only concern after reading that entire transcript was one word. I think that throws the ball back to the congressional Republicans that Garrett spends so much time talking to congressional Republicans. Do they agree with President Trump's statement that I hold both countries responsible for it? Everything else in that President Trump, to use a legal term, is now blessed. He's blessed with a second set of eyes, his own, is saying that he endorses that.
This is very important.
I think that allows this conversation and the questions about the president's performance to go on, and it certainly will not be put out today.
There was a whole lot of weird in that press conference yesterday, Katie, and the point you make is that we listen to the rest of it. So he corrected one word, if you could even call that a correction. He says that he misspoke on one. But for the rest of it, he was asked 4 direct questions from journalists where he could have given 99 different answers that said that he was holding Russia to account or that he believed Russia had interfered in American elections. And in no case did he take that opportunity. He spoke about Hillary Clinton, he spoke about a Pakistani guy and observers. He didn't talk about Russian interference.
He offered conspiracy theories and he offered distractions, and he was trying to place the blame everywhere else. This is not my responsibility. This happened under Obama's watch. I'm going to put this in the past. We need to move forward. In no way looked at the man who was left and said, what you did was wrong. We will never allow you to do that again. That is a very simple thing to do. The bar was so low.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Oh, at least I got the backside.
They attacked our elections, and that our president should be confronting the man who did it. But he did not do that. And we have to remind ourselves, he went into this meeting with
bunker shot.
The DOJ. He knew about it. It came out publicly on Friday, but he knew about it days in advance. He should have been prepared to go in there and hand him the indictment in the same way that Chris Wallace of Fox News tried to hand Vladimir Putin that indictment.
Didn't take it. He pointed to a table and said, "Put it."
And it's important that, he was asked, would he ask to extradite those 12 Russians? He was asked this by an anchor at CBS News, Jeff Moore. Will you ask Vladimir Putin to send them to America?
He broke Discord.
Said, I haven't even thought of that.
Right. So that means he wasn't all that well prepared for it. Let's go to Peter Alexander. Peter, you were in that room where President Trump issued his, I'm putting it in air quotes, correction, where he said he misspoke yesterday. Sounded unusual to us. What did it seem like in the room?
Well, just a couple highlights that I want to emphasize here. For one, the president today was reading from typed remarks, so which effectively shows you the confidence that his aides have in him delivering the message that they wanted to get out today. And one of the things that really struck me in the president's comments, even as he was reading, where he said, "I accept the findings of the U.S. intelligence community that Russia meddled in the 2016 election," he added that critical caveat where he said, "could be other people also." That is not the finding of the U.S. intelligence committee. As you hear a giant rainstorm behind us is a pretty good metaphor for the storm that has been around this president for the course of the last 24 hours. One moment you may not have seen at the end of that exchange, the president's comments there in the Capitol room alongside those Republican lawmakers. First off, John Bolton was at one side of the room. Ivanka Trump, his daughter, was seated on the other.
Oh no, not again.
As well as
Stop.
being escorted out of the room by
That would be a bad one.
on 3 separate times. Will you now publicly condemn Vladimir Putin for meddling?
That would have been a bad bunker to be in.
Or simply said thank you. But the bottom line is this was an effort to try to clean something up, but it's not something that happened in a vacuum. He had 2 opportunities and 2 interviews with Fox News yesterday to do it, and it only happened today after that outrage from the Hill, and also after an emergency meeting of top national security leaders here at the White House that took place earlier today.
Okay, this is an important piece of reporting that Peter's just mentioning. There was an unscheduled principals meeting. Top national security advisors convened at the White House prior to Donald Trump speaking on camera today. So somebody said something and drafted something, and now we have the president saying on the point of being asked whether he holds Russia responsible, he said, "I heard from Dan Coates, my intelligence officials, that it is Russia." President Putin had a strong response. "I have no reason to believe it would be." And now the president said he meant to say, "I have no reason to believe it would not be or wouldn't be." For reaction on this, I want to go to Richard Engel, our foreign correspondent, who is in Moscow. Richard, I imagine this is reverberating around the world. Have you had any chance to get any official reaction from anyone yet?
No, I haven't had any chance to have an official reaction. Actually, there's been very little official reaction when you see European leaders, Asian leaders. They don't really want to weigh in on this. You didn't see a lot of officials.
Nobody wants to weigh in on it, because if you weigh in on it, you have to say the truth, that he's a fucking liar.
On the stage praising Vladimir Putin. They still need to work with President Trump tomorrow. They still need to work with President Putin. So they're staying out of this. Instead, what we've seen is a lot of editorials in newspapers. Newspapers from generally pro-Trump countries like Israel, in which President Trump in the Haaretz was called it was either a poodle or a puppet, but something very dramatic. I believe it was a puppet. So we've been seeing a lot of editorials in the international media. What we just saw a few minutes ago, they were just talking about this correction between your air quotes. Very few people around the world are going to believe this. What we're having here now is President Trump trying to tell people that what they just saw for the past week, they didn't see. That they didn't see 250,000 people on the streets of London. That they didn't see President Trump embarrass Theresa May at her own dinner at Blenheim Palace. That they didn't see President Trump on that podium dismissing the U.S. intelligence findings on Russian meddling. That it was all just this one-word mistake. I think what we just saw was an attempt to feed the media cycle in the United States, and as you were saying, to give the Republicans a bit of an off-ramp. But people around the world are not going to say, "Oh, well, what we saw last week, obviously, we were all mistaken. Everything is corrected now. That there were no problems at NATO, no disruptions there. Everything is settled." This was not a do-over. This was an attempt at an illusion.
Yeah, and it is kind of remarkable, Chris Matthews, to your point earlier, that the spin begins with something that sounds like an apology, and to Garrett Hick's point, it does give some Republicans on Congress an off-ramp for cover. I do want to ask you, Chris, Rod Rosenstein was seen at the White House this morning. I don't know whether there's any connection. We don't know whether he met with President Trump, but clearly someone was able to bring enough pressure to bear to the president to at least have him issue this clarification about one word that, as Richard Engel says, nobody believes. things. But ultimately, what do you think happened, and what impact is this going to have?
Well, I think it was probably critical mass because the
Damn you.
basically condemned. They saw
That's
this
fucking
no
all.
one believed it. No one. This is like Jerry Ford saying there was no Soviet domination of Eastern Europe. You're told at certain points by your best friends you blew it. And also, it shows now you're watching Trump playing another element of his playbook, which define all reality as right now. There is no yesterday ever. It's never yesterday. He can erase that conversation where he attacked Theresa May and just say it didn't happen the next day because I was nice to her the second day. Trump is a genius at getting press attention, at destroying enemies, at defining all human existence as this moment, right now when I'm talking to you. That's one of his strengths. I don't think it's going to work today. I think he's on defense today. One of those rare moments when Donald Trump is trying to protect himself.
Peter Alexander,
Get in that other
do
bunker.
you know anything about this Rosenstein visit to the White House?
I can only tell you what we've now heard from Sarah Sanders, which is that Rob Rosenstein, who of course is overseeing the Mueller investigation, was, as you can see in our video here at the White House, we are told by Sarah Sanders that he was here for routine meetings, that he did not meet with the president while he was here. I can say with some certainty that he didn't meet with the president because the president didn't even arrive in the West Wing until afternoon today. You know that because there's a Marine Guard who stands outside the West Wing whenever the president's in the Oval Office. He didn't get there until well after Rob Rosenstein had departed.
All right, Peter, thanks very much. Katie, thanks. Chris Matthews as well. Gary Hager, Hans Nichols, and Richard Engel. Joining me now is Republican Congressman from Florida, Carlos Curbelo.
Rage round.
We were not expecting this to happen. I am a little...
I hope you enjoyed the show.